Tanshekiawal, bon après-midi, Lauren Petersen, ein femme Michif Languages Dustin, Winnipeg ni Wiccan, mi nom parenti si les gagnés, les deux charmes, les gladus, les laframbois, les trottiers, les ross, les blondos, puis les hughes. I am the Senior Policy Advisor for Métis National Council of Culture, Heritage, and Language. I'm really excited to be moderating today's webinar. As we're all joining from different places, I invite you to take a moment to acknowledge where you're joining from in the chat, or Q&A if you will, so we can all situate ourselves within our kinscape. Just a few quick housekeeping notes before we begin. There is simultaneous translation available, as well as ASL and SLQ interpretation. We also have a Q&A feature where you can ask us your questions throughout the webinar. This event will be recorded and published online. And now it's my privilege to introduce you to my favorite person, Kokum Dianne Ludwig, who is going to say a few words to start us off in a good way.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dianne Ludwig. That's my given name. My other name is Wolf Tracks Woman, and it means the last one to run by, and also the keeper of women and children. And the old people, Kiteak. Wahiawo Senia, Capito Tianoti, Saskatchewan Ose, Buffalo Narrows Snikatio. Duty Makogik, McCollums, Mackays, Gerards, Obishans, Msteheso Squats, Isinoak, Mikakio. I won't be able to say all their names. So with that, I would like to say thank you for having me here today. It gives me great honor to be sitting here and talking about my language. So with that, I'd like to start off with the memories of the lives taken. We pray for the lives that were lost in Tumbler Ridge, BC. Our hearts are with the families, the young students, the people who work with them, to all the staff, and all the families and people who lived in this community. I also ask for prayers for them. May we stand together in love and compassion, strength as one, with unity in this difficult time. Please say a special prayer for them. Thank you. And with that, I will go to my opening prayer. Tanse, bonjour, welcome, all my relations. Kakyon dutimak. Uti higominakutak oma kawigitek wahiawutofte. Wawaski susa gahigan niaofse migots. Wawaski susa gahigan means lake of the elks, and that's what Laklabish is called. And I think I introduced myself as Mahiganis Itzquil. That is my name. And I ask Creator, and I thank you for today, for giving me and all our Kichteyak. A long time ago, we didn't call each other elders. We called each other Kichteyak. Kichteyak means the old ones, and that's where we're at the stage in our lives. The opportunity that you gave us to sit in a circle we call life. Thank you for that. Thank you. Kinaskumtinawa uma kutakisagaw kawapaktamak. Igwamina uma kawi peaks kuyak. Neskapisim uma anos. Miguat nistasab kisigaw. Sawiminan uma uta anos. Igwamina kahkyo esinuak. Kitaskin now Canada kaisnikatik. Megwe iksmaksia komoti kawigiakaski magigwekski tamahmana. Suskotsman ne matuyan mana kapeyam hayan. Msui tioma inotintutsik mukweyas yagonma. Maga tekskihtamoketaguinanto. Wichihinanuma tapto tsagihitoyak. The love is missing, and that's sagihitwin. The peakskuyak, to talk our language, because talking our Michif language, we understand better. Uminatapto, tamamawapiak, to sit together. Go sit with the old ones. They will tell you lots. Tapto, kakio, sagahitwin. Awasak, asoni igomena kiteyak. Tapto, kanwimikoyas. Atsioyas manakapigi gityakoge kawasak. And I'm saying that the children are not given to us. They're just loaned to us for a little while. And we should look after them really well. A long time ago, we used to celebrate the children as they came. And in my community, we used to go around when the mother had a baby, and we'd go and announce the birth of the baby and how the mother and the baby were feeling. We don't have that anymore. Now there's where you see where people have babies and they don't want anybody acknowledging their babies. It wasn't like that a long time ago. And I think to myself, sometimes we have to learn how to go back to the old ways. Take some of that teaching, because there's so much turmoil in this world that maybe some of that teachings that we had a long time ago will help us. And I ask the grandmothers, our ancestors, to be with all of us today as we sit here and we talk about our languages. I ask them to hold our hands so we can all work together as one. And maybe one day we will see what that language can do for us. Thank you for letting us share in your sacred circle, in your sacred space, and that's for the children. Hi, Pinaskumtanawa.
Merci, Kokam. For several years, the Métis National Council and Parks Canada have been collaborating to nurture strong relationships by maintaining a collaborative partnership at the national level that is rooted in respect, reciprocity, and mutual understanding. In 2022, the Métis National Council hosted a virtual gathering where its governing members provided valuable insight into how exactly the MNC and Parks Canada can work together to improve our working relationships. One of the key recommendations from the gathering was for the MNC to collaborate with Parks Canada to ensure that Parks Canada staff had educational opportunities to learn more about the Métis Nation, including stories from the land and our intrinsic cultural knowledge. The kitchen table is a concept made popular in research and engagement by Algonquin Métis scholar and artist Sherry Farrell-Rosette, though she intentionally does not take credit for it, as this concept has developed holistically over many generations. For the Métis, for us, the kitchen table serves as a foundational space for sharing knowledge, emphasizing its role in human development and community bonding. Now, since the birth of the Métis Nation, kitchen tables have served as sites of nourishment, celebration, strategic planning, prayer, mourning, and creativity. This concept extends well beyond pedagogy or learning and folds itself into an actual research methodology that's now acknowledged in Western institutions. It's popular because it emphasizes the strength and significance of informal conversational learning by transforming kitchens, which are communal spaces, into collaborative spaces. This promotes inclusivity and accessibility, reinforcing kinship ties and emphasizes the spirit of Wakotowin, interrelatedness. Because it is a kitchen table talk, we invite you to grab yourself a cup of tea and nestle in for a good conversation and a visit. We began this series in 2023, and this year is our third annual webinar. It has been wonderful to watch this event grow over the years. With the nod to Valentine's Day tomorrow, the focus of our conversation today is going to be love. We will be discussing the deeply felt love not only for our Michif languages, but also for the land, water, air, plants, animals, and of course, each other. Through this dialogue, we hope that the audience will depart with some understanding of Métis ways of relating to the land and waters, and of the important connections that are held to sites where Parks Canada plays a role in administering. So we're really lucky today to have a lineup of amazing speakers. Each participant speaks or is learning a distinct Michif language variation. While historically we Métis spoke many different languages, today we're focusing exclusively on the Michif language and its three variations, including Heritage Michif, Northern Michif, and French Michif. Cook and Dianne Ludwig from Northern Saskatchewan, who you've already heard from, Ruby Bruce from St. Laurent, Manitoba, and Riel Fidler from Iroquois, Saskatchewan. If you've seen their bio pages on the event website, you'll know how impressive these amazing women are. And I can't wait to get into this discussion with them. So for now, I'm going to let each panelist introduce themselves, starting with grandmother Dianne Ludwig. You have approximately 5 minutes each.
Okay, I don't know what's happening here.
You're good to go. We can hear you.
You can hear me? So do I introduce myself again or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so my name is Dianne Michif Ludwig. My other name is Wolf Tracks Woman, and I got my name in the Blackfoot ceremony many years ago. And I can still remember to this day how I got my name. I always felt that there was something missing in my life. I had everything materialistically, 6 children, beautiful husband, but there was still something missing. And that something missing was what my belief system was. I was raised a Catholic, and I stayed a Catholic for many years. And that's part of my life, my walking in. And what else? Am I leaving something out? Do I say all my relations? Like the relations that the people I'm related to?
If you would like to, yes.
Okay, so I'm related to the Mackays and the McCollums, Gerards, Dumonts, Aubuchons. I'm related to a whole bunch of people, and all of them speak Michif. And the Aubuchons and the McCollums and the Mackays are very closely related, and so are the Marastis. And they're all from Isle Cross, Beauval, and Green Lake, and that's in Saskatchewan. And there's also relatives in Alberta and British Columbia. And my life was, till I was 6 years old, was living on a trap line. So that's where we only spoke Michif. There was no other language spoken in our house. Because if there was, my kukum would kick us out. And she said we were not Munyawak and don't come into my house and speak English. So we had to speak our language all the time. So of course we knew how to speak it good. And how many minutes do I have?
Um, I think you're good.
I'm good.
I think you're good.
Okay, I'm good. That's good.
Okay. All right, we're gonna move on to Ruby. Thank you, Cookum.
Okay.
Hi, Tansei, Buzu, bonjour. Ruby Bruce, Dishnakashan, puis Gawa Nun, sa Manosi Spri. J'ai de Saint-Laurent, Manitoba, puis je suis un autiste, puis une éducatrice. Je suis une maman d'un petit cuisine et je parle français, Michif, ou Michif français de Saint-Laurent. Hello, my name is Ruby Bruce, and my spirit name is Gawa Newton or Southern Wind. I was fully raised in the Métis settlement of St. Laurent, Manitoba. I'm an artist, I'm an art and cultural educator. I do many other things, but that's what I just like to say I do. Simpler, easier. I'm a mother. I'm a mother to one daughter, and I'm a French Michif speaker, specifically the French Michif language of my community, which is a little bit could be a little bit different. I would say each like French Métis community speaks a different kind of French, or a different kind of Michif language, French Michif language. It's all a little different all over the place. Um, so my dad, he is a fluent Michif speaker. It's his first language. The language was strong in his generation, but more so the generations before him, like my grandparents and my great grandparents. It was a part of their daily life, and it is a part of the daily life of the old folks in St. Laurent and their conversations and in their humor and whatever work they do or in family gatherings. You'll often hear French Michif being spoken. For me, anytime that there's a holiday, like all the older people are speaking Michif, a lot of the younger people don't know their language or they understand it, but they're not speakers or they don't really understand it. It really depends. And in St. Laurent, there was a French Indian day school run by the Catholic nuns from Quebec and Ontario. And that was like that school had a real impact on the language in our community. My dad attended that school. So did my grandparents and my great grandparents. And many of them didn't complete their schooling. Like some left early to work on the farms or to help with younger siblings. Like there were a lot of siblings in my community, in my family. So for example, like my grandpa there was 16 in his family and then there was 14 in my grandma's. And, some left because they were starting families of their own. My grandma had my auntie when she was 15. So that was very common at the time, and that definitely has influenced the younger generations, like my generation, like me and my cousins. Most of us have been young parents, teen parents. Um, Many of us don't speak our language. I speak the language, but many others don't. In earlier generations, there were also speakers of Soto and Swampy Cree in our area and in our family, and that has influenced our language. But French has influenced the language more than anything. So like the language, the French Michif language in my community it's different. I'd say it's a very unique, it's its own specific kind of French language. There's Paul Chartrand, I believe his name is. He's like everybody I think knows him really like in the Métis community. But he was quoted saying that Saint Laurent Michif is very different than other French Michif because it's an older Michif and it has a lot of Quebecois influence because of those because of that Indian day school influence. Um, so why I'm saying this is because that school and like the older generations, it really influenced how I was raised and the school I went to. I went to a Francophone school. In my community, there's two different schools, and one of them is Francophonie. And I don't mean like French immersion, I mean Francophonie. And it's interesting because some people they think our community is a French community, but it's not. It's not a French community. It's a Michif community. It's a French Michif community. It's different. It's its own unique language, and I know that because while I was going to school, there would be different teachers. For example, in high school, there was teachers that came from all over the place, came from Quebec, came from Africa, came from the city, and they all spoke different French than us. They didn't even understand what we were saying most of the time, and I would get scolded. And that school was very authoritarian, and I was always a curious child and I always questioned everything. I still do, and it would always get me in trouble. And I would question why there was so much French emphasis and why we would get in trouble for speaking Chif in school. Um, and my dad told me, it was very similar when he went to Indian day school, and I remembered that. And I pushed ever since for there to be more language revitalization in my community. for French Michif specifically, not just Francophonie, which I mean it has its place in the community, but at the same time it shouldn't be overrunning the community. Um, and so yes, and that is something I've been doing a long time now. I'm in my late 20s. I started doing it in my teens, doing workshops and different things like that. I'm actually or a multi-award winning artist and educator. And one of the things I do in my practice is language revitalization. And I won the National Inspire Award in 2023 for my dedication to arts and culture and language in my community. So I take the language revitalization very seriously, and I'm very proud of the work I do. And so I'm very happy and excited to be here today to share my experiences in my life and my language with all of you. Miigwech, thank you. I see.
I see. And we're proud of you too. All right, now we're going to go over to Riel.
Tangshe, Riel Dishnaka Shun, Isle Cross, Doshchin, Maka Saskatoon Weekend, Makaranti, Les Fidlers, Les Says, Les Isbisters. Hello, my name is Riel Fidler. I am from Isle Cross, Saskatchewan, but I'm currently living in Saskatoon. I am a coordinator within Métis National Council, and I help with culture, heritage, language, and environment, and I'm really, really excited to be here. I am a very new learner to Michif. I'm quite novice. However, my drive to learn was that the joke growing up was that my dad only knew the bad words in Michif. And it was really funny when I was young, but now that I'm growing up, I'm realizing that I don't want the language to end with my generation in my lineage, and I would really love for my children to speak Michif as well. Now, Isle Cross traditionally speaks Northern Michif, but I didn't really start this journey until I was living in Saskatoon for university, and I just felt a really strong connection with Heritage Michif, which Northern Michif is very influenced by Cree, whereas Heritage Michif, it's Cree verbs and French nouns. So it's more of a mix together there. And it's just been a lovely journey so far, and I'm really excited to learn from the other two lovely panelists today. Accouché. Merci.
Merci, Riel. Proud of you too. Now we're going to move into our moderated dialogue, and I'm going to start with a question for Kokum Dianne. So why is it important to you that young people learn to speak Michif? And what advice would you give to new learners?
I think I answered that one already.
It's okay, you can expand upon it.
Okay, but I will answer it. You know, with Riel talking about her Michif language from Isle Cross, that's the same Michif that we spoke in Buffalo Narrows. And ours is the same thing, like it's the verbs in that, eh? And then the French and the Cree. I would like to see, honestly, with all my heart, while I'm on this earth, that they have Michif languages in the school system. They get the money, I know they get the money to do all these language programs, and then the thing is, their excuse is they can't find Michif speakers. There's only what? According to some people, there's not very many that speak Michif, but that is not right. There are people out there that are teachers in the Michif language, and I think it's time that we stood up and started. I don't know what we have to do. I don't like to use the term fighting for our language. But you know what? Why do we always have to prove that we need this for our children? Where the other children can learn their languages in the school system. Where I come from, there's a lot of Lebanese people, and they have Lebanese programs in our school. They have French. They have all kinds of stuff, but nothing for the Aboriginal people, nothing for the Michif students. And it doesn't matter, like, you know what, you can talk about it. They might put it in for a few times and then they forget about it. And I don't think that's right either. And I'd like to tell some of my students that I taught that they should go back to the schools and start teaching the language, because we used to have so much fun and they really loved learning the language. And what I used to do was, they said it's the Cree language. It was not the Cree language that I was teaching, because what I would do is take the Cree and the Michif, and that's what I was teaching them. And it used to be a lot of fun. And we have to get it into the schools. We have to lobby the government. We have to go and speak to the people that that are the head of the different communities in our in the communities that we live. We can't let it go, because once they're in kindergarten and grade 1, and that's when they really pick up the language. They really do. And you can have so much fun with them. But yeah, don't let it go. It's there. Let's do something about it before I say bye-bye.
I really love, Kokum, that you highlighted the generational and shared responsibility that we all have to carry that language forward. And when you introduced yourself, you spoke about being on the trap lines with your family and the role that that played in your family and your relationship with your grandmother. And I'm wondering if you might have some words on the relationship between the land and languages and how that fits with children learning to make place, because a lot of Métis people like Riel are urbanized and they're outside of their traditional communities.
So you want to know some words?
Sure.
I got, I'm going to teach you girls how to say my honey, okay? Because Valentine's Day is just around the corner, right? When is it? Tomorrow, right?
Yep.
It's Valentine's Day. Okay, now our language is really funny, right? When you speak it and you understand it, you can sit there for hours and laugh, because you sit there and you just, it's so loving. Like, our language is really close to us. And when you tell a story, it's always so funny. And then you look at the other person and you start laughing all over again, because it is funny. But I was going to teach you girls how to say my honey. And my honey in Cree and Michif, as I speak the French Michif, is amu, amu ume.
Amu ume.
Amu
Amu
ume.
amu
Amu
away.
ume.
You say kasagahitin,
Kasagahitin.
Kasagahitin.
kasagahitin amu ume.
Kasagahitin.
Amu
Amu
away.
ume.
And you know what it means. Am I on, how many people are watching us? Lots.
A lot.
Maybe I better tell you how you say. Because amu is a bee, like to say honey in Michif and that, you say amu is a bee.
Amu.
Yeah. Honey is amu ume.
Amu ame. Got it.
Amu ume. And you can imagine what ume means, right? Amu ume. That's my honey.
Gonna keep that in my back pocket for the next kitchen party so I can go find myself an uncle.
You look it up on your computer, you look it up, Google it, and it'll tell you what amu ume means.
I will do that.
Sagihitin means I love you. Sagihitin means I love you. And if you want to say honey, I love you, honey, you say amu ume.
Kisagaten Nokam.
Okay, thank you.
Marcy. Okay, our next question is going to be for Ruby. And you did kind of touch on some of these themes, but I want to expand a little bit further because I know you have a lot of experience working with students in the schools. And this is something that our COCOM has really emphasized the importance of too. So Ruby, coming from a rural Michif-speaking community, why is it so important to you that children in your community have access to French Michif in schools? And what role has language played in the development of your own identity as a Michif educator?
Okay, so working with children, I quickly realized that, well, how do I answer this? I could go so many different directions with this, but I'm going to say I realized, okay, so when I was a child, I realized that I wanted to speak the language, but that nobody was really teaching me. And then when I was working in schools with kids, I realized that they did also want to speak the language. They wanted to understand the language more. They wanted to speak the language, but nobody was teaching them either. And there was this disconnect with them too, because they were like, there's this disconnect between the generations, is what I'm trying to say. And in my work as an artist and art educator and cultural educator, and also with my language revitalization, I focus on intergenerational learning. So I use storytelling, I use creative spaces to make language feel alive and welcoming. I believe language survives when it comes from grandparents and grandchildren, and when it is connected to like the land or like daily life or whatever, not just the classroom. It's important. It's important. And for me, loving Métis language means honoring the people carried them, who carried that language before us, including my dad and my grandparents and my great grandparents, like I mentioned, and making sure generations still have access to that connection. Like my daughter, for example, I want to make sure that so that she understands the stories from the generations before, understands it. Because the thing is about language, once you lose language, you lose stories, you lose understanding, like you lose that, you have that disconnect between you and the ones before you who knew things. And then let's say there's a story and it was only spoken in Michif, and then there was no speakers of that story and it wasn't translated, and that story is lost. And we don't want to lose stories. We don't want to lose those things because they're important. They're important for us for identity, for well-being, ultimately well-being. Um, because um, because language, it strengthens identity, and identity supports stability, and it's well-being. And sorry, can you repeat the question actually? Because I think I went off.
No,
Yeah,
that was
you did.
absolutely perfect.
Oh, okay, great.
I just, you touched on the first part, but the second part I said, like,
Mm,
has language played a role in the development of your own identity as a Michif speaker and as an educator?
yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is, my language is a big part of my identity. It's how I was raised, right? And even though I wasn't like fully fluent as a child, I mean, you're a child, so you're not really fully fluent in any language, I'd say. And then, like Cookham said, when you're in kindergarten, grade one, that's when you're like learning language, like you can learn other languages. You're learning language the second you're born, and you're already, I mean, in my philosophy, you're born knowing a language, and that's the language of nature. And
Yeah,
does that make sense? Sorry, I didn't even answer the question again, I don't think.
yeah, you did.
No, you
Oh,
did.
okay,
You
thank you.
absolutely did. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for connecting that to the land and the place too, because I
Mhm.
think as dispossessed people, the Métis are often written off as people that have no connection, but it's
Mhm.
important to have those visual reminders that we very much are.
Hmm.
We all have a place. Sometimes it just takes a little support from your community to find it and role
Exactly.
modeling. So thank you so much. Okay, my next question is for Riel. So Riel, as a young Métis educator and learner, why did you decide to begin your Michif learning journey, aside from learning the naughty words? And how has that changed the way you see the world around you and connect to the land and its history?
Yeah, so just kind of building off it not wanting to disappear with my generation within my family, I began my Michif learning journey because I felt a gap in my understanding of who I am and where I come from. And in the process of learning Michif, I've found that it's much more than a language. It carries so many stories and values of Métis ancestors. And learning it felt like a way of honoring my heritage and taking on the responsibilities that were interrupted by colonization and language loss. It's really taught me to slow down and listen, especially to the land, because the words in Michif and expressions are so deeply rooted in relationships. So to family, to community, to animals, and to place. And as I learned the language, I've been reminded that the land is another relationship. It's an entity we live with rather than on, that the land is a living record of Métis history.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of moving into the identity aspect of that is that I'm learning that my identity as a Métis woman is dynamic and relational. It's shaped by where I grew up, my family, and how well I can adapt within my community. And honestly, learning Michif has been a great reminder that education can be an act of reclamation and healing, and it's not just a transfer of information. Overall, this journey has really strengthened my sense of community and my personal connection to the land and to my elders, because a lot of them are my teachers. And hopefully it'll strengthen my connection to future Michif learners who will continue this work, fingers crossed. I believe that by learning Michif, I can not only reshape my worldview, but my peers as well. Accouché, merci.
Mm-hmm.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Riel. Okay, now we're at the point of our visit that we are going to turn to our Q&A with our audience. So if you have any questions for our panelists, we have time for a couple questions. We're going to look for them there. They're going to be shared in the chat with us, okay? And if you can remind, or if I would just like to remind you to put your own questions into the chat and the Q&A function. So the first question we got was, many folks online from the Parks Canada team might be learning about Michif for the first time today. What's one thing you hope that they take away from this? Do any of our panelists feel really drawn to answer that question?
Say it in a different way.
What do you hope our friends at Parks Canada hope to take home from this conversation? What's the big takeaway?
For myself, I hope that they realize how important it is for the Michif people to be able to walk through the parks wherever they're at and just to go and look and see what they have. Because wherever you're at, there's Parks Canada, or there's just parks there. Like we have one here in La Clabiche, but there's only certain paths that they can walk on. And there's so many medicines in these parks. There is lots of medicines. And we can't pick them. We can't. Because I guess it's against the law. I don't know. But if they would just give us a time to be able to go into the park, even with the school kids, with some of the people, and show them what's there, and to respect what we're walking on, to walk lightly wherever we're walking, and share with us what you know. Because I know that Parks Canada probably had somebody go into these parks to see what plants are there and see what kind of medicines are there. They probably know. And I think that they should share, because a long time ago that's what we did. And we still do it. Like, you know what, I can share with somebody and they can share back with something else, whatever. The trading was always there. And it would be nice if we could go back and do that again. And this way they get to respect, like it's not about ownership. Nobody owns that. Nobody. It was given to, like, no, you can't say, well, this is my land. I can't. I'll share with you, and to show that respect for what's been offered to you, but don't hide it. Don't hide it. And don't say, no, you can't go in there. Let us, because we will show you that there is respect for everything that's out there. If you're sincere in your heart of what you're taking. And you shouldn't take more than what you need. Always remember that.
Beautiful, and it's an important reminder of how important those relationships to the land are because the land is our greatest teacher. And
Mm-hmm.
also what a amazing opportunity to learn Michif language in practice and being on the land with your grandmothers, your aunties, your uncles, your siblings, people in your community that have that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, our next question kind of feeds off of this. It flows really nicely. Can you give an example of a word you learned in Michif that helped you better understand that connection to the land? So I'm going to ask that to Riel because she's our new learner and she's very passionate about the land.
Yes, thank you. I would say that it's not necessarily about the words, but the teaching methods that the elders and language keepers use. They are very holistic in their teaching, and like Métis people and Michif people are just very holistic people, and it's all about balancing and the give and take that you can have. Like even grandmother Dianne mentioning that there's medicines that can be picked in these provincial areas and these provincial parks that we're not allowed to have access to, even though our ancestors kept a very good balance. They wouldn't overuse, they wouldn't overtake. And you can see that a lot through the teachings when you're learning the language as well. And a lot of the teachings are also taught through stories and through different lessons. Um, for example, we're listening to grandmother Dianne talk. Sorry, I'm using you as an example so often. You're just so wonderful. And again, like she uses stories to help us understand and to help us as learners. So yeah, it's not just a one word thing.
I can appreciate that. The whole methodology, it's kind of like Keokewin or Wakotowin, those systems of reciprocity and learning and relating. Ruby, what about you? Is there a word in Michif that helps you connect better to the land?
Yeah, I would say aki. It means land in Cree, I believe actually, but it's also used in Michif. And when you say aki, it means not just the land, not just the earth, but also the ground we belong to. And so that would be a word if someone wanted to utilize that word or look up that word, you could. But there's also I think you say it like akita, which is different and it means take care of yourself and take care of the land.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful. There's another word similar to that. It's Kowichihitayak. It's a Southern Michif word that means we take care of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But the concept of Wakotowin means that it's not just people to people, person to person, it's species to species, and also the land, the air, the water. And it also involves, depending on where you are across the homelands, your responsibilities to broader people, so new Canadians, but also First Nations and Inuit as well, because we all have this responsibility to each other through our diverse kinscapes. Okay, we have another question from the audience. I'm going to leave this open to whoever feels comfortable talking about it. The question is, would you recommend kitchen table talks as an effective method to decolonize online learning? So at the beginning of this conversation, I kind of introduced the concept of kitchen tables as transforming um, kitchen tables over generations as sites of connecting and strategizing, planning, mourning, celebrating. So, do you guys see informal methods of connecting as a way to decolonize those spaces? If we're going to tie it specifically to language, maybe we can talk about language learning in those informal settings or provide examples of what that could look like.
Well, I would say a kitchen table talk. I'm sorry, I think I moved my mic. A kitchen table talk is a it's a site for oral knowledge transition. It's a place where we can be speaking our language and sharing our language with other people, and not just one of us, but like as a collective, we can all share and we can all have our own inputs. And there's different inputs from everybody. Everybody has their own perspectives, and it's nice to have multiple people to be able to share those things, because if you just have one perspective and just one teacher, like that's great, but if you have multiple teachers, it's like having multiple teachers in the classroom being able to share their own different experiences, their own different viewpoints, and it's just more enriching, I would say. It's a very enriching experience for anybody who's able to experience it and be involved.
I love that. Riel, do you have anything to add to that?
I think Ruby put it really eloquently. I guess building off of that, having a non-traditional structure to learn in is really helpful for students that feel really uncomfortable or people who feel uncomfortable in those settings. And having the multiple teachers in the room where you're not spotlit as someone who maybe knows less. Everyone has something to give. And I think that's a really beautiful aspect of the kitchen table. And like you can realistically have this structure anywhere. And if you can incorporate the land and teachings and stories on the land as well, that just amplifies its effects.
Mhm.
It's very
Yeah,
important.
yeah, and I would also say, like it's relational pedagogy instead of into an institutional hierarchy. Knowledge is shared with and not delivered to.
Very
Yeah.
smart. Great way of putting it.
Yeah.
Some really, really powerful words shared here on that, but also if people are hoping to learn further about kitchen table methodologies, there's a really wonderful article by, again, we named her at the beginning, Sherry Farrell Reset, but also Laura Forsyth um, published a book on it with different perspectives from Michif scholars, mostly women that are currently working in academia that operationalize that in many different sectors, from like education to heritage to public organizing, social services. It's a wonderful book, and I highly recommend people check it out. It's called Kitchen Table, Métis Kitchen Table Talks. Um, we have one more question here I'd like to ask. In order to become more knowledgeable on Métis history, culture, and society, where should one start? And what would each of you recommend they read?
Um, I wouldn't necessarily recommend reading. I would recommend reaching out instead to maybe your local Métis organizations or groups or locals, as they're called in Saskatchewan, and see what resources they have. Go and sit like this with the elders and the community members, and I think that'll be a way faster way of learning than just reading an article.
I think so too. I think that's a good idea. And don't ever be scared to go, to approach one of the old people in your community. You would be surprised on how much they will share with you. You would really be surprised, because I think that's a good way to do it. Like, and even get the children to listen in on the Michif language and what they can learn. Those kids, they're just like little sponges. They'll soak everything up. They really will. And it's a good thing for them to have. And they will sit there. They will sit there and they will listen and they will do, because they're really excited about doing something new. And that new is their language that they they should have.
Great. Ruby, do you
Uh,
have anything to add?
Well, I was just gonna say there are like a lot of books. Even if you just took a quick Google, and you just wrote Métis books about land or about spirituality or about blah 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 blah. There's a lot. There's a lot of great writers nowadays who are coming up and writing lots of books. So I recommend just taking a quick Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you look at, as somebody who works in education policy and education, if you just a word of caution, look up predominantly Métis publications for a starting point. So anything by Gabriel Dumont Institute. I know that a lot of the Parks Canada gift shops, like the sites have gift shops that sell a lot of really amazing Métis authors that are there. And just being careful looking at, because there's a lot of misunderstanding, I think, about Métis identity. We're um, trying to work more with publication houses, like as a collective, not just like Métis National Council doesn't do that specifically, but there's lots of Métis people in academia that are really fighting for authenticity. So just being mindful and checking in. That's why I think all of us will agree, direct contact with people in your community that are Métis. They can guide you to find the right ones. And it makes it a little less intimidating and you have somebody to learn. But I will say, as somebody that's doing a PhD that has a really solid Western education, I learn more from my elders and from my like multiple times a week phone calls with Kokum Dianne, for example, or that I learned from my grandmother or I learned from my mother over cups of tea. That informal learning is really foundational in Métis pedagogy. So we have another question here that I think you guys will like. Parks Canada does administer lots of land. Are there ways that Parks Canada can better support the Métis in teaching language to young Michif speakers? So how can we learn in those parks and those spaces?
Sorry. Would you like to go, Grandmother Diane?
Go ahead, Riel.
Okay. In Batoche, they have this lovely kind of a nature walk where they have an elder talking about the plants and everything that you're seeing from a QR code so that you can load it up onto your phone. I'm not sure the exact program that they've used, but implementing something like that where there is the option for language for the things that you're seeing around yourself that you can touch, that you can view, that you can walk through would be really beneficial.
Yes, I think that having something like that would be very, very beneficial for the young people. And also if they had like camps set up in the park where, you know, people could go out there and camp or have a learning center where they can identify with some of the plants and learn some of the Michif that's out there. They would love that. Like there's so many kids in the city that never leave the city, and that would be very good for them, I think anyway. I would follow them. Yeah.
Ruby, do you have any thoughts on that before we move on to our last question?
Well, all I was going to say was having translations available or having community walks, the same exact things that they were saying. That's exactly what I was thinking. So I completely agree.
Beautiful. All right, thanks, guys. So now our final question. Do speakers want to share one of their favorite Michif words? And also there's a postscript note, Ruby, that your nails are amazing. So
So you want to learn a new word?
yeah.
Okay, I'm going to teach you how to say Parks Canada in Greek, in Michif. And I was sitting here in my apartment last night and I was interpreting words in Michif. And I was thinking, okay, Parks Canada. There's no word for parks, but there is a word that we can use, and it's called you say, where is it? Nohtzimek, nohtzimek. It's in the bush, like nohtzimek is in a bush, and it's all like land with nothing on it. That's how you say nohtzimek, Canada. And that says the Parks Canada, because Canada in Michif is spelled with a K, right? Kanata. That's how I spell it. I forget about the C and I just use the other words. And Nochtzimek, that's a word that I hardly ever hear. Probably because there's not that many Michif speakers where I'm at. And I would love to hear that word. There's so many words out there that are not heard. Like, for instance, the Métis people used to live by the water, and they always had a cabin close to the water, like a shed. And that shed was called Le Bastion. Did you ever hear that word? Le Bastion. And that's how you say it. And that's that shed that's by the water, because that's where they used to put their nets and stuff. And yeah, so I said two instead of just one.
That's okay. Double trouble. We're here for it. All right, Riel, we'll go to you next. Favorite word?
My favorite word has to be Kiam or Kayam. It means just no worries, it's all good, everything's fine, and it's just like Kiam.
Yep.
And Ruby?
Can I say a phrase?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is like a Valentine's Day phrase, I guess. And it would be mon petit cœur bat pour toi. And that means my little heart beats for you. I'm gonna show you my nail actually because it's a heart on.
Oh,
Oh,
My little heart beats for you.
oh, that's so nice.
that's beautiful.
And that's it.
Beautiful. Riel, you stole mine, so say my next favorite. It's Ni Mama, because my mom is my favorite person, and I'm Métis by virtue of my mom's family. So, ma famille, Ni Mama. Okay, so that is our final question that we have time for. I'm very, very, very grateful for all the contributions from our audience, but also the amazing answers you guys have all brought forward. Just to briefly summarize a few things, we talked about the importance of informal generational learning spaces, opportunities to connect with both elders and children, shared responsibility, bringing language forward, how important partnerships with organizations like Parks Canada and the government are for ensuring that we have opportunities to share and connect, looking at the land as the teacher, and also just understanding the importance of family and the relationships within this work of language revitalization. So I would just like to again acknowledge the amazing contributions of our panelists, Marcy, Kokam, Dianne, Ruby, Riel, thank you so much for being here, all of our attendees, and of course the Parks Canada team that is here, participants that are learning. We understand it's a big step and it takes a lot of vulnerability to step into another world and understand another worldview. So we're really grateful for the opportunity. And we're just gonna wait for the phone to stop ringing. Kokum Diane's very popular, so we're really lucky to have her here today. And at that, I'm going to actually ask Kokum Diane if you could say a closing prayer or a few words to send us off in a good way.
Okay. I really, really enjoyed sitting with you young ladies. I think that if we could sit together a little bit longer, we could learn some really nice, I could teach you some really nice words and tell you some stories. I think that telling stories is so important because that's how it was a long time ago. Like my kukum used to teach us different things by telling us stories. And sometimes they were kind of scary, but it did teach us how to respect people and what we shouldn't do. And I like telling stories. Like I've written some stories, but the best one that I have to just take a few minutes to tell you about is about when I went to school because I didn't know how to speak English. I only knew how to speak my Michif language. And the one day the teacher said, tomorrow, she said, I want everybody to bring something so they can take an egg home, some eggs home. And my sister and I looked at each other and we said, Kikoitagusiuma tapitaya komina. I told her, I wonder why they want us to bring that. And then the teacher said, Peter Rabbit is going to bring some eggs. And I said, wow, tansimagawa ititaman. I was wondering, what are they talking about? Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit can lay eggs? That was my sister and I were talking on the way home. And she looked at me while she said, you heard the teacher must be right. Peter Rabbit is going to lay eggs. I said, what's the gods? I said, we eat Peter Rabbit all the time. I said, now that he's going to lay eggs. I said, what are we going to do? And she said, well, I don't know. She said, I guess we'll just bring our little lard pails with us and maybe we'll get an egg or two. And, you know, that was part of my growing up and learning about the different things, how we were getting westernized even at my young age, and how Peter Rabbit was there, and it was part of our food staple. So I think about that and I laugh at myself sometimes. But anyway, I will say the prayer. And again, thank you to everybody that participated in this today. Thank you for sharing your circle with me. I love sharing. And if you ever have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out. And I want to thank Creator Queen Skumten, Naktawinan, Asami no Makutak, Kamamoa Piak, Kapik Skuyak, Natihe Wose, Nsagawa Kogek, Skuiwak, Wistawawa, Egomina, Otsawasim Soak Mina, Koyestap Muhtitsik, Otsa Kio, Tanti Kawitohtitsik, Witsihip, Sawimilan Kakio. Creator, bless us all here today. I want to thank you and thank everybody for sharing your circle with me, for walking so softly, and for talking and reaching out, and for me to share my stories. I love doing something like this because I have a lot of stories to tell, and some of them are funny because when I grew up, there was no Peter Rabbit. But anyway, I want to thank you for having me here today, and don't be scared to reach out. Lauren has my phone number. If you ever need anybody to talk to, I'll be there. And I ask Creator to keep your home fires going and get you home safe to wherever you're going today, and to watch over you and protect you, and ask the white wolf when you're traveling far away to travel with you, and the white wolf will look after you. Thank you. Hi, hi.
Marcy Cookham, and we are now at the end of our session today. So thank you all for coming. I want to extend my sincerest gratitude. Ekose, that's all. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll see you next year.
Okay.